Welcome back to this special Scaffchamp edition of The View with Vertex. I'm joined by my next two guests. They are Sebastian and Dmitry, both of KEWAZO. Boys, gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. We're really happy to be here.
Thanks for having us. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really great to have so many different people from so many different cultures, backgrounds, all united around scaffolding at the Scaffolding World Championships. You guys, the main sponsor as well this year.
That's right. Like last year.
Last year as well.
We had a good time last year too, yeah. And we decided that this is really a very interesting event around all the passion that people feel for scaffolding, to meet here and compete and really celebrate this craft. I think that's a pretty good idea. So
it's really shaping up to be this big scaffolding event.
I think so.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, I was only saying to somebody else a couple of minutes ago, I know the first two were good, and by the standards of the last two events, they were really well executed and organised. But there was nothing to kind of benchmark against. I think it's just going to keep growing. I think each year they run this thing.
Yeah, we sure hope so. It's amazing.
I do. I think it's brilliant to get so many, and I think the competition element of it. I think now it seems more like it's a scaffolding championships, but it's fun and it's a marking and it's a networking opportunity for a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
and I think that element will remain. But I think it's going to start getting more. People are going to start getting more serious about the competition.
Absolutely.
And training and putting teams together.
Yeah,
so interesting. So KEWAZO, the main sponsor. Tell me about the product. Give us sort of an elevator pitch of what is the product.
Yeah, right. So scaffolding is heavy work and skilled work, and it's quite hard to find labor nowadays. So there's a massive lack of labor all over the world, and at the same time, there is some safety implications for scaffolding, and scaffolding is very central around safety, giving access to people, but also the erection of the scaffold has a lot of implications for safety. So there's a lot of accidents, there's a massive lack of labor, and then at the same time, there's a lot of projects that are still done completely manually. So there's often no aid used, no scaffolding aid, such as ropes, elevators, and such. And that's how we designed our scaffolding robot to help with this situation, because it's a small, lightweight, flexible solution that can be erected really quickly, and at the same time brings more safety on site, because people stay behind the safety guardrail, and then it can be a bit more detailed with the
so it can be built from inside a safe safe platform.
That's right. Yeah,
I find it absurd, crazy how many scaffold companies still rely on, like you said, ropes and wheels. It's like the same technology the Egyptians used. It's like it's a simple one-to-one pulley system.
Right.
You're putting as much force on that side of the rope as whatever you try to lift on the other side of the rope.
That's right.
Yeah, and there's a great human cost that comes with it, right? I mean, who in scaffolding retires at 65, right?
Interesting. We had a guy on maybe a couple of weeks ago. He's called Ian Caulfield. He's 71 years old, still scaffolding, but he's a real innovator in the UK. So he used to build these winches, diesel winches. Wow. This is like back in the way before the idea of robotics that you guys are doing now. This is like literally wires.
Yeah.
And diesel motors pulling vast amounts of materials
to
high locations, to build multi-story buildings. So this guy's always been like a real innovator within like way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
In UK we use the impact wrench, like a drill to put the tube and fitting scaffolding up.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been pretty common since maybe 2012.
Right.
It really started becoming normal.
Yeah.
He was using it way before that.
Right. Yeah.
So he's always been like this. We're still scaffolding at 71.
The innovators succeed, right?
Yes, I think so.
It's a philosophy we try to follow as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you innovate, and there's certainly, like you've said there, there's certainly issues in scaffolding in 2023. Labour's 100% and skilled labour at that is definitely up there on the.
Yeah.
list of problems.
I've always had this notion that the more steps you can get help with from technology, the better. So, for example, I have a vacuuming robot at home, because I feel that it's great because it does a lot of this job just on its own, and then I just add a little bit of work myself, and then it's a perfect job done, And that's how I feel about robotics and new technologies, that it helps with some working steps. So people are basically have just a helper that makes it easier to do more, or to do it more safely, or more.
I think that's the nature of innovation.
Yeah.
Anyway, most of the products that have succeeded in some way or another make things either quicker or simpler or less intensive, less labor intensive.
Yeah.
Lifting materials to the workplace, especially with modular scaffolding, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it is.
And it's important to note, I think, that it does not replace the workers, right? We still need skilled labor in scaffolding, and we'll always need it, right? Because we can help with the hard work of lifting material up, but everything else, it needs qualified people to do. So,
and I think one of the challenges of getting those qualified people is the fact that it's, and the guys out there will tell you, the people building the scaffolds, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's a hard job, and especially in Europe, it's a hard job in often wet, windy, hostile weather,
absolutely,
conditions.
Yeah,
it's not always a nice job to do. You're dirty a lot of the time, and then you're cold in and out of trucks, and it's how do you encourage a young person to come and do that? You say, come and do this. This is a good job. Like, fucking don't look like it. No, it looks hard.
Right.
But I think with you start telling them, oh, did you know that we use robots to lift the equipment? Like, and you're speaking to these
that's right
young people.
We've actually been speaking to the German Academy of Scaffolding, basically the organization that trains new scaffolders. And I think they train about 300 guys per year. And the demand is obviously significantly more than that, right? With people leaving the profession, just being, older. And they also have been excited about this factor of, robotics, innovative technology being introduced to the trade, and this being an instrument to advertise and position themselves towards young people who might otherwise not be very interested.
I think it needs it because, I think you've just picked up on a point pretty well there. We're having the problem at both ends, aren't we? We're having people leaving the profession.
Yeah. And
this guy who came on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, there's a guidance document in the UK. It's SG6.
Right.
And if you ask any scaffolder, what is SG6? They're probably like, is that the one about, I don't know. You wouldn't necessarily recognize it.
Yeah.
There's another one, you may have heard of it, is SG4. This is about working at height.
Right.
And when to work behind a guardrail, how to use fall protection equipment, how to, this kind of stuff. Everybody knows what that is in scaffolding.
Yeah.
It's maybe the third paragraph in the SG6 book. The SG6 book is about manual handling.
Right.
The third paragraph in says, manual handling is the most significant risk to workers in the scaffolding industry. Very few scaffolders reach retirement age still working on the tools.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the accidents happen, right? Both in terms of breaking your back and in terms of dropping something, right? So this is something we really want to target with our product and help alleviate.
Yeah, I do think it's attacking at both ends because you're giving people within the industry more longevity. Because they're not having to put physical strain on their bodies. And you're encouraging these young people. And you know what young people are like. It's hard to grasp their attention. And I've had to train some of these young kids. And like from the second you start speaking, it's like on the phone, like turn your phone off, put it off the desk.
Right.
So first they put your phone on. They put it on the desk and then it lights up and they go. Back over here.
Right.
So it's hard to get their attention for a long period of time.
We also think that, if you make it a little bit easier for them to do the job, for example, by having more technology, that first becomes more interesting, but also it becomes a little bit easier to do this job. So I think that may lead to some more people choosing this trade. And there's lots of money to be earned, lots of experience to be gained, and lots of future potential for this job as well, because scaffolding is going to be extremely important in all of these industrial applications, construction. And if you're someone such as you who knows a lot about it, that's always very important and very valuable.
Yes,
to have this experience.
And
for young people, I mean,
there's so many different avenues as well now. I think that's an important message for these younger people. It's like I've been lucky. So my generation was like the first, certainly in the UK, to benefit from all the new rules and regulations, and the work at height regulations, for example, came about in 2005. Shortly after I came into the industry, so I've benefited from all of that. But then there's this bunch before who they didn't get all this stuff that we take for granted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The guidance and the training, and there was nowhere for those people to go because what's a risk assessment? Back then it was like, well, why do we have to do a risk assessment? Why do we have to have a health and safety policy? Now people need these health and safety, and someone needs to write them. And if you've got experience in the industry, you can be the guy who writes that health and safety policy. You can be that guy who becomes that design engineer. There didn't used to be a requirement for that. In the 90s, and when these people were in the industry. So to encourage people in, there's so many avenues now you can take it down. You could be a trainer, you could be a design engineer, you could carry on to be a scaffolder for a lot longer if you really liked it. Because of new innovation.
That seems to be a very nice process there in the UK, that scaffolds seem to usually go through a design engineer, and then communication happens with the team on site to actually build it according to that. What we've seen is that in some countries, some places, some companies, it doesn't seem to be quite so organized. It doesn't seem quite so planned and prepared, the scaffold that we actually built, but more improvised on site. So, I mean, now don't get me wrong, a construction site always has to be a little bit improvised, I believe.
I think so. And anybody who tells you it needs to be any different is living in outer space. You know what I mean? You do have to, you have to, I'm not saying don't risk assess, but you risk assess proactively and dynamically as you go. But of course you have to adapt. Of course you have to. Plans change. It just, I mean, every time it probably on site the conditions are a little bit different. But I generally believe that it's a great process, that there's a designer that really thinks through how the design makes the most sense, and then
we feel like in the UK this is much more clear. The workers, what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, how the process should go. This is the experience we've made.
Largely because of the legal framework. And I think the legal framework probably it's fucking centuries old, isn't it, really, the way it works in the UK. But I wouldn't say it's a nanny state, like where, it's all top down. But there are laws in place that you've got to adhere to, and if you don't, you could be prosecuted, you could be fined. Legislatively and also culturally as well, there are differences elsewhere in the world. I found Germany to be different. There was a lot more responsibility placed in the hands of the individual. I don't know whether you find that is
that's true. And in the UK we feel like it's more with the company, right? The company has to self-organize and create an environment basically where it's safe for the workers to operate. And it's actually our ambition to help our customers with that. We help them with their risk assessment on site. We help them find a safe and productive way to use Liftbot. And this has been the focus of our work over the last months with a lot of our UK customers, actually.
So KEWAZO is the company and Liftbot is the product. And when did the company found? You're the
I'm co-founder.
Co-founder, Sebastian, and you're in there since the start, Dmitry.
Employee number 2. Now he came pretty soon after we started. He started as a student, and then immediately
those first people that you get on board. Hats off to you, right? Like those first people you bring into a business. You not only are you convincing them, that it's viable and that things are going to be, it's going to be a great business and everything. They have to put a lot of faith in you, don't they? These first.
Absolutely, Well,
it's been repaid now. Clearly,
I think you need to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your colleagues, and you have to believe the idea and the vision. because otherwise in these early stages it just doesn't work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, there's a lot of faith needed, a lot of positive thinking. I believe that because in the beginning, it's also not quite clear how everything will turn out. The product, the customers. I mean, it can be more clear, but for us, we discovered more and more in the lean process what industry could we apply this product to, and then pretty soon it turned out scaffolding is amazing for that because there's such a lack of labor. There's so much we can help with potentially, and then you just kind of learn on the go. And I think that's also what is really beautiful about this process. A lot of challenges and a lot of growth that you have to do yourself. You have to grow yourself. You have to grow with your team. You have to be very team focused.
You could never learn it in a university, could you?
Yeah, I mean,
people go. I always makes me laugh when people go to university and they do like some business degree and all the rest of it. It's like, start a fucking business. Like, you won't have to pay for it. Well, you might, but like in the
one of the things we did when we came out of university and started getting this whole project off the ground was to talk to industry experts a lot, to scaffolders on sites, off sites, to managers in the scaffolding business,
so
to learn from them the stuff we were missing in the beginning, right? And I think now we are at the stage where we just accumulated this knowledge that we've learned from going to sites ourselves. I think Sebastian can share.
Very humble, actually. Very humble attitude to say, well, we don't know it all. You guys, you go to the industry who does know, and accept the feedback.
I mean, you have to filter
company.
it. You have to contextualize it, right? You have to work with it a lot with the feedback that you receive.
Because some of it is just harsh for being harsh sake.
But it's still valuable. All of the feedback we had was valuable, and I think it brought us here now where we are at the stage where we have a product that's ready for the market and that's useful in the market already, right?
Yeah, it is very much. We actually were able to find customers that gain a lot of value out of it in multiple different places. So all over Europe, really, and it starts picking up in North America as well. And then we're also talking to customers or potential customers in places like Asia, in places like Korea and Japan. So it seems a quite exciting head in front of us.
Yeah, I'm fascinated and really keen to watch the journey as it progresses because I think that's the way the world is going, is robotics and automation.
It surely is a trend,
yeah, both physical processes and things behind the scenes as well. It does seem to be that
I mean, nobody wants to break their back, right?
No, nobody wants to be. No, absolutely not. And scaffolding can be back-breaking work.
There's a lot of respect we gained for this trade specifically because scaffolding is about creating the access for other people to follow and taking the responsibility for that access being safe. So that is actually a very important and central work in any, in especially mostly in very harsh environments. So
that's why it pisses me off so much when I see guys, scaffolders, working in an unsafe way.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, you're building a scaffold for somebody to work on so that they're safe.
That's right. Yeah.
So
that's what it is.
Why is their safety more important than your safety?
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
It's
that's a very good statement. Yeah. That explains everything about it. If people think about that a lot, I think it will improve things.
Yeah.
And that I think is something that has to be very appreciated. It has to be much more appreciated what is happening there, that someone is taking this responsibility, building this safe way of access. And especially, I mean, I have so many memories of all the extremes, right? Like very hot weather, but you have to still wear a full jacket, long pants, all of that.
You did do a bit of carrying, scaffolding.
Yeah. No, of course,
I think all of us did.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. The girls, everybody.
I mean,
everybody did their fair share.
Everybody has tried, but sometimes, as I mentioned, construction sites don't go so right. So sometimes, there's some things needed, some help needed. So you kind of learn how to deal with a lot of things, and then kind of you feel it yourself as well. I mean, we're not scaffolders by any means, but we are on the construction site to support the scaffolding company.
It has always been our approach to go to the sites, right? To bring our product to the sites and go there ourselves.
Yeah,
I think
And get your hands dirty. And
yeah. I mean, it's just part of our process to introduce the product to a customer of ours in a pilot project, basically, where we also attend and we go to the site with our product and
I wonder if that's a German
learn
thing.
about their environment.
Because I find the same with Leia. Do you know what I mean? I do an inspection for a company, and it's on a big bridge in Goole in the north of England.
right.
Big layer scaffold, and Leia put me in touch with the company. So a guy who used to work there called Heath said, if you're looking for a scaffolding consultant to do inspections, Isaac's your guy,
Yeah,
because he knows a lot about Leia. Like, I didn't work for Leia, but they found somebody for their customer so their customer could succeed. And then when I came to do the first inspection, they were there. The engineer was there.
Yeah.
Sean Pike was there.
I mean,
Right,
you can't
yeah.
succeed
Show me
on
who else
site
is
without
doing that.
being on site. That's just not how it works, I guess.
I mean, everything in business is always there is trust involved. So I work in sales. That's a trade. That's where you feel it a lot, because with every customer, trust is necessary to do a deal. You cannot really create a deal or a good situation for both parties if there's no trust. That's just impossible. So trust has to be built and earned, because obviously companies operate very differently, and everything, especially in scaffolding, of course, it's a hand-on trade. I mean, that's something that you have to also show that you understand this industry and you understand what it's about, and you know.
Yeah, and you got to
Yeah.
go there and get your hands dirty.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's part of it to be able to talk about all the different scaffolding parts. You have to know what is a ledger.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to know what all these things
There's
are.
nothing worse. In my
Yeah.
my current background, I've obviously worked in scaffolding my whole life.
Yeah,
Now in health and safety, and there's nothing worse than you meet somebody else who's like the health and safety advisor or whatever
yeah.
for another company, and they go, and they'll call
that
it
piece there.
Yeah, I'll just make up some name for it. They go,
Yeah.
those standards you like, you're pointing at a ledger.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's really frustrating. I think, especially in sales, you have
Yeah.
to speak to people in their language. You have
Yeah.
to have I think they call it EQ, don't they? Emotional
Yeah.
quota, emotional
Oh, yeah.
intelligence.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, it's not just sales, right? It's, for example,
It's just relationships, isn't it? I suppose.
yeah, but it's also important for design. We give all of our design engineers basically a training in scaffolding to a degree, right? We have scaffolding in our yard at our workshop,
Yeah.
and basically everything we do with our product is basically done around this scaffolding, and learning about this scaffolding is one of the first things our new joiners do.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It really does make sense. I think the I've spoke to people about this before. I think the scaffolding industry could benefit from a bit of that, because we are a service trade. We build scaffolding around a building. We build scaffolding for a renderer, for a roofer, for a bricklayer, whatever. But we need to understand their trade, because we need to, I think these people coming into the industry need to know, well, why are you building like that? How far away does he need to be from the wall for his tools to fit in, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing to hear that you take that approach.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a big part of it, and just learning about people and what they really have as goals, and how they do their work, what projects they work on. I think one of the most beautiful things about scaffolding is the projects, because you have these very ambitious and beautiful places that you build scaffold around,
Yeah.
such as in
Big Ben.
yeah,
in the
yeah,
UK.
exactly. The whole thing full of scaffolding. Yeah, exactly. That was a beautiful project, for example.
I'm going to claim to fame it. A lot of the guys who were on that job
Right.
did the training with me.
Cool. Yeah.
And
That's amazing.
Because in Letchworth is like Leia's HQ in the UK, and I was there like every week. Every week it was like, and I'm from
Nice.
Manchester, so
Very nice.
back and forth. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful project. Exactly. Sometimes you're inside churches. Sometimes you're very high up and you have a great view, or that's kind of the beautiful thing. And once you learn about scaffolding, you see it everywhere. You see it really down every street. There's scaffolding somewhere.
Same as when you buy a red car.
Yeah. I think all
So everywhere you see a red car.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I think all of us, even without having a background in scaffolding, are a little bit, I don't want to say damaged, but we have this thing where every one of us, when we go on vacation, we go to a new city and we walk around and you stop to see, the exciting things, and then you stop to look at some scaffolding and you think like, oh yeah, they do it differently here. That's interesting.
I call it scaff nav.
Yeah.
So most people find their way around by which pub. Oh, you go past the pub on this corner. And for me, it's scaffolding. And go, oh yeah, there was a big scaffold there around that building.
Yeah.
Mrs. like, fuck it, all right.
Yeah.
Run holiday.
Yeah, that's what it is. Totally.
It does. It takes over your life. It takes over the world. We're at the World Scaffolding Championships.
Yeah. That's it.
So I'm looking forward to getting out there tomorrow and soaking up the event.
Yeah.
Gents, thanks very much for your time. I don't want to take too much more of it up because I know you've got plenty to do, people to speak to. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks a lot for having us.
More over beers.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön.
Thanks.